Hi Aries, thank you very much for joining me. Polina here talking to you about Aquarian Saturn going for your 11th house. So minding your own business is probably one of the best things that we can do. Anybody with Arian aspect, we just have to mind it and mind it good. So one of the best things for us all, I believe, is just to try to trust things as they are. And that's where Aries does not like itself or does not like the environment, feels very aggressive and very unhumanly emotional sometimes. You also have Chiron going through your first house all the way through this transit, of course, for many years to come. So there's going to be an epicness and an emotionality and perhaps a certain type of soul development that is karmic here for us. So the thing here is basically to enjoy, just make it okay. Okay, be at peace. Here's who you are. Here's where you sit. Here's where you stand. This is your job. This is your significant other. This is the state of your home. This is the state of your country. This is the state of your continent. There's got to be kind of like no buzz about certain things and certain activities. And also, please watch your reactivity levels because I trust these can go through the roof as well with this very, very cleared 12th house. So we have to sometimes be absolutely normal and nurtured and be at peace with all of it. You will have a stellium of Moon, Mercury, and Neptune in your 12th house, also with the Sun just exiting your 12th house upon arrival of Saturn in Aquarius. So you've got to be okay. And you've got to be on the roll, and you've got to be all right, and you've got to just make sure that you don't pick at your scabs, basically, and try not to bring out into the world anything prematurely. This is where Aries really loses control. But I want to party. I want to show them all how it's done. I want to finally launch that frontier. I would like them all to see me grow very fast. You may want everyone to see you improve very fast. So here is where, for example, you're going to the gym or you're writing a book or you're making some kind of story and you want it to be faster and you want it to be stronger and you want it to all make sense. So by the end of Capricorn Saturn, I don't actually trust you need to do any more than you're doing already, and don't trust any road that is just too strange sometimes. You know, like somehow you get like a road in front of you and it's just too karmic. It's like I got to do cartwheels to achieve this result, or I've got to do cartwheels to be with this person, or I've got to do a million things at once to be able to portray myself to these people, or I have to do 1,000 different things to get this thing to go. So if there is a complexity within your result seeking during the particular first part of this transit, you have to stop now. And March 2020 has to be kind of a no longer going the same way, maybe, but kind of accepting the previous result type of time. And it's got to be golden and it's got to be real. So, for example, if you are staring at me or someone else, anything, and you like expecting a difference, there's not going to be. Perhaps you might be emotionally seeking differences. You might be missing Uranus going through your first house, and it also feels to me that you might be missing something or missing someone a lot with this also North Node in fellow cardinal sign of Cancer, and you might also not really quite know as to how to put it all together and how to gather all the results, and it feels like there is like a combustion or like a big cataclysm, or like there's need for something, and the thing is it's getting too chemical, it's getting too intense. So alchemizing your life right now and trying to make it spark, make it go, I don't think you have to until it's time. Sometimes an Arian person will just get like a huge premonition. They will just come out of their shell very fast, as you might do during the first couple of years of the Saturn, and just accidentally impress and surprise everybody by a very fast result or a very, very strong, charismatic decision making process that comes out of you on time. So this is like about knowing when it is and it isn't time to do, say, and feel even. So there's a very, very kind of like new world coming out of all of this. It feels to me that you might have absolute vision, but the thing is the timing has to be right. So if you don't have all the ingredients for that pie, don't make the pie. It's more about just waiting for all the different roads, all the different centers of yourself and other people, all the different energies to come to a nice flush, to come to a nice sequence. So when that last domino is placed, you know when to tip it and all the dominoes fall. But this has to be eventually evolved with trust. So it's like, for example, you might be sitting there, you might be on the road even, or you might be between the scenes or behind people for even 2 or 3 years during this transit, and you might not even know why. But the minute that you settle in and you say, I have trust that on some magical karmic level, these things are not all together yet, or the ingredients are not all available, but they will be, and there will become a time when I will be more than fulfilled with the sequence. And yes, the last penny drops usually right in time and right in front of your nose, and you just understand when your sequencing is right. And basically, you just need to wave a pen, or you just need to put a signature on the piece of paper, or you just need to show up to the place, and it will all start to fall in place. And the main thing here is basically to also start to be more dominant. So this is like a very, very easy thing to think about. But when you think about the karma and the cause and effect of an Aryan person, and the way that we sometimes get betrayed in society, and the way that we butt heads sometimes, or we're very vulnerable as well because of our in a sense, disbelief or like lack of wisdom sometimes. It's very, very harsh to be dominant at the same time as being mature, and also allowing that freshness to come through, because there is a whimsical feeling of Saturn and Aquarius, especially in the last couple of years, and there should be a very, very nice neurological openness, and also this kind of like even pretense, or like a play on words, or play on circumstances, to basically keep you fizzy and bouncy and buoyant enough to be able to connect all the dots. But we need you to be a more dominant person here as well in the 11th house. So we have to see your personality. We have to seek some kind of advantage from you. Maybe you become an employer, or maybe you become employed, but you are only the one person that can do a certain job, or create a certain type of scheme, or place things into sequence or justice. So we've got to look at you, I suppose, with a larger capacity to understand you. And it feels to me that we are like more honest about who we've come out to be in the last year, in 2019, 2020. And it also seems to be that you have to be very super hyper honest and fresh and real. And then we all become much wiser and smarter people, just being okay with the results of yesteryear and being absolute as who we've been. So the thing here is like, wisdom doesn't just come from reading a book necessarily, or like knowing how to operate a certain program or space and time. It's more about knowing how you are and what is real in your world, and just basically breathing fresh into that which you have always been. And that's where the wisdom really comes from, I trust. It's more about just this economical reality check. And the dark days will go. So there is something that can be very dark, of course, with Saturn going for your 11th house. There could be perhaps annoying things happening. People don't really trust your word. You might have a contract that you can lose or dissolve over a very, very short period of time. Your spouse or partner may leave, or may want to go elsewhere. You might have no longer the authority of over a business, or perhaps over even a situation. You might no longer be included or inclusive. You might no longer have the pride or the sense of time, and you might no longer stand out as well. So other people might no longer pick up your brand, or you might lose business, or you just might lose hope. So there is like something very, very karmic and dangerous here for all of us. If we see you fly and make all that brilliance as if like a hummingbird, kind of like buzzing about and trying to evolve situations through emotional karmic damage. So here's where you can lose control. There's where you try to throw a punch at the cop. This is where you try to have lust involved in your relationship just to keep it going. That's when you bite your tongue, you don't say anything, and then you just blurt it all out, as Mercury is going through the 12th house upon the embarking of the Saturn for your 11th. So you might just blurt out a lot, or you might just blur the lines, and you could actually get very sincere and also very innocent through these happenings as well, which is what we also like and trust about you a lot. But it's just like, whether or not you want this, you might have to consider the overall result and the greater timeline of like how you actually want to live. So for example, you can throw a punch at the cop, but did you consider going to jail or being detained for a while? Did you consider maybe going through a divorce if you decide to start becoming very tormented and emotional and like damaging, tormenting with your partner? Like, what if you didn't have to bleed a stone here? What if you didn't have to throw the punch? Maybe you did need to say something for many years. And this is when you really have to consider your childish trauma and how it acts out in the social sense, and also just the context of people in everyday life, and also what mental or perhaps psychic damage you might have through an ability of being unable or even disabled by your trauma states, which could come from youth or even like a whole culture because of going through your 11th house. So you could actually be picking up on multi-vibe societal damage, which sometimes happens with us here as well, as you are part of the plan so much during these years. So it feels to me, so sometimes, for example, being part of a group or being part of a demographic understanding of the world can on occasion bring out these traumas and these turbulences into the real life or the actual life. And you might also have a lot of issue, karma and debris falling through your experience simply by trusting a certain demographic outcome or a philosophy. So, for example, if you were always part of a certain team of people and they all together, this is where virus is a very interesting thing to understand. People catch a virus, you might catch a virus, or like people have a virus of depression, or people have a virus of negativity, or some kind of viral societal, global, overall demographic, sort of like a baseline of self deficiency, for example, or poverty, or just immorality. You might be able to be only that if you are knit very close with someone here, and I think you might not even notice. So you might just be experiencing a popular or an overall result, and you have to also be there and sit there, but also be very mindful and very understanding that some of the time we have these egregores or these large universal frequencies that we don't understand and not here and now. They're not ours necessarily, or they're not necessarily a reflection of the purity, of the full hearted purity of our being collectively, but we reenact or we redesign these particular patterns because we don't really know why, but we just together. It's like you're in the bunch, and you might not even realize that you are not delivering your own soul frequency. You just connecting to a popular outcome or popular belief system or opinion, which then eventually becomes very harsh. So I would probably here define the boundaries really well. If you're an Aries being, especially ascendant in Aries, you have to be very, 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 very good to yourself. And I trust that you have to be very kind and have no temper with things, and make sure that you are not by accident strung along by a popular outcome or even a global disease or disorder or ideal, because it feels to me that you will not find your feet, if you don't ask. So if you don't ask, we're going to be. So you have to be very, very, in a sense, primal and keep to yourself sometimes, especially in the first or 5-6 months of this transit, because Rat is going to ask us to forage and hunt and have perhaps a very viral or vital mind. And then when you are so fast sometimes, and if you are moving very quick, and also if you notice that other people are very slow, you might actually not be on your own skates in a sense. So you might actually be delivering the will or the vibration of another, and not even understand that you're just part of a psychosis. So we had to be very, very strong, very mellow, and very clear in 2019 as to who we are, our heritage, and our, I suppose, ego centers, or even like our energo centers, like innocence centers, had to really be developed and evolved enough not to by accident fall in love with the wrong person, or fall in love with the wrong signature, and the wrong energetic outcome, which can sometimes be just part of a demographic overall. So basically don't be swayed. So another idea is that by the end of this transit, as we start walking into the last part of Aquarius, I don't really trust you might have the time to get it all together, but try to understand the main spectrums or the main brightest sequences, or the biggest people, or just the biggest stars, or the biggest awakenings that you have had throughout your life, perhaps. What has been dotted around throughout your universe that has really made sense and made you love this world, and then try to turn that into some kind of like perhaps, if you like, idealism, or make it into a weave with other people. So growing societies, creating communities, crafting new eco centers, making new produce types, like creating and crafting and innovating the next best thing in this world really comes from your heart. And it feels to me that it is very hopeful and clear. So by about April 2022, you might already have a very good start as to where you would really like to seed your heart. So, like, if you are creating a cafe, if you're creating a program for people, especially when it comes to tuition, and also knowing how to be without disease. So, the big healing crisis is now truly, yeah. How to be without disease, how to be without emotional disempowerment or disfigurement or self hurt or hatred. I believe that we're all going to start maybe even like creating, writing, reading, or unifying together. And this could be like manuals, creating epic work, making new ashrams, new types of situations, new types of groups are really needed already now in 2020. But these are going to, I believe, really start to seed and become universal by the end of this transit, and by April, May 2023, as we have Jupiter walk, Jupiter. Actually, yeah, Jupiter will be in your sign. So cool, you're going to be the teacher. Um, as we have Saturn, walking into Pisces inevitably. There's going to be, I feel, a beautiful swan song for some people, and I also trust is going to be an excellent choice to really show your wares and establish you as a collective guru, or as a collective click finder, or as just a knower of everything as to what it means to be here, where you get your resources, where you source your materials, who you are and who you aren't any longer perhaps associating with, and what you are and are no longer studying through, especially as far as people go. So I believe that by the end of Saturn going through Aquarius, you might start to become very sensitive and very new to other people, since you've become really clad with youthful and vibrant sense of satisfaction through knowing a lot, and through perhaps using many portals, or using many dreams, or many people's homes, or many countries even, to be able to force through your angelic and more vibrant, more pure self, or sense of self. And then it feels like it all closes kind of. The dream is over. It's like the Crowded House song, the dream sort of starts to close over as Saturn walks into Pisces. And by the end of March 2023, you might not any longer have that hope. Though these waves and these shores, as Saturn goes through Pisces, are going to open you more in order to deliver. It's just that this fresh glee that is created through Saturn in Aquarius is going to really, really grow on you, or grow with you later and into the coming years. So you may not have all of that which you needed. You might not have all the strands, all the technologies, but I feel you will still become a teacher and enable yourself already by the end of 2022 to really surface who you are in the world, and to socially and physically improve and emote other people to do the same. So, breathing leadership into the all. And I hope that you got it. I hope that you understand already that by 2020 you got what you hold, and I hope that you realize what is not going to be under control, and live with that for a little while before you go experimenting. So thank you very much. Enjoy. I wish you hope. I wish you greater societal and physical outcomes or boundaries, and I hope and feel all the best for your world. So thank you very much, Aries. Enjoy, and I hope to see you next time. And yes, all the details are in the caption section below about me, so my website and my work and my books and everything. So thank you so much, and I'll see you. Bye.